Ready to go when you are.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lauren. It is 6:30. I will go ahead and call this Budget and Finance meeting to order. You all should have received a copy of your minutes via email, and I would entertain motion to approve and dispense with reading.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ross. Is there a second?
Second.
Tyler.
Second by Commissioner Taylor. Are there any additions or corrections to said minutes? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, I do not have a copy of the agenda before me, but I'm hoping that this is the first item, which is a transfer within the Public Works Fund. And I know Randy and Cole were present at that meeting, I'm assuming, and what we have, I think Levy had an unforeseen breakdown and he had to shift some money from pipe, concrete over to rentals. And he also had to move $120 from data processing to data processing services. I would entertain a motion to approve this.
Make a motion, we approve this.
Motion by Commissioner England. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Taylor. Justin, you have any explanation on this? I'm sure Cole or Randy would. Anybody like to speak to this motion?
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, this is the highway transfers, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
It passed our meeting this afternoon, 4-0, no problem.
Okay. Was that pretty well explained, Randy? That's about what
Yes,
we
sir.
were looking at. He had a breakdown, had to do some
Yeah.
rental to finish up the job.
It was that's what it was, just very minor. Minimal, I should say.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ross, for sending me that agenda. Is there any more discussion before we vote on this? Okay, if none, Tom, if you don't mind, call the roll.
Randy England,
Yes.
Christy Ross,
Yes.
Scott Rubley,
Yes.
Tommy Savage votes yes, and Cole Taylor.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, the next item on the agenda would be the Sheriff's CARES Act money, which is
That's Sheriff's CARES Act money is grouped in with the jail and circuit court as GF6.
okay. Yeah, I was thumbing through, but I've got GFFY 2021-6. Justin, would you care to explain that?
Sure thing. We received a very short notice turnaround several weeks ago for application of some additional COVID money through the Office of Criminal Justice and the JAG. Those two requests came through, and we forwarded those on to the jail, or the sheriff, and then the court system. The sheriff had applied for one for the jail and one for the sheriff's department. He received both of those. The jail received $20,000, and the sheriff received $9,000. Then the circuit court who applied, they received $10,000. This would be 100% no county match, COVID money coming from the state.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Do I hear a
Mhm.
motion to approve?
I got a question, just a second.
Okay.
Justin, you said
Yeah.
the jail got 20,000, the
Correct.
sheriff 9,000, and
Yes,
circuit court 10,000.
correct.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we approve this.
Motion by Commissioner England. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ross. Is there any more discussion? If no more discussion, Commissioner Savage, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Randy England,
Yes.
Christy Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage votes yes. Cole Taylor,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is to correct the bike grant budget. Justin, would you like to explain that?
Yes. We received a bicycle grant from the last year from the Department of Health, and that grant we did not spend as much as we had anticipated to spend at the end of the year. So there's still some money that needs to be allocated on that one. And that's what we need to do. We need to allocate the remainder of the bicycle, what was left in the bike grant, which I'm not seeing that I actually sent that one out.
I didn't-
No,
How
I
much-
didn't.
How much is in there,
Okay.
Justin?
It was a $20,000 grant. Let me see how much was. I'll have to see how much was spent last year real quick. So I'm not seeing, I think that one may have gotten overridden when I was writing these COVID grants, these COVID grant amendments. Give me just a second.
I didn't see one. I was looking through my list, but I didn't see one nowhere.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, are we going to be able to move on this one tonight since it wasn't sent out? I know it says it's on the agenda, but without the amount, I'm just asking for clarity. I don't know.
Yeah, we can actually do that under any other business, as long as it's not something that we need to take some time to review. We'll let Justin give us the figures and we'll go from there.
In the big picture, this is a recommendation. Anyway,
Thank
recommendation for the full court.
So it was a $20,000 grant. Last year we spent $8,012.68. We were scheduled. We had scheduled to spend some more, but we didn't get there by the end of the year. So we only appropriated $1,987.32. So we would just need to appropriate the difference between those amounts. So give me a second. I'll tell you exactly what that number would be.
Okay.
It's exactly $10,000. We need to amend 55900 499 to increase it by $10,000.
Call those numbers again.
55900 499.
Okay.
And it would be increased by $10,000. And fund balance would be decreased by the same amount.
Okay, and to clarify, we are just allocating the remaining balance to 499.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So this will be, as he said, a recommendation. So is there a motion to approve this?
So
I'll make
moved.
it.
Motion by Commissioner Ross. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Savage. Is there any discussion? And Justin, if you don't mind, if you could send us out, email us a copy of that for our records, I'd appreciate it. Not today, but in the next day or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If I don't get it to you tomorrow, I'll get it to you on Monday.
Okay. All right. All right. Is there any more discussion? Okay. If not, Commissioner Savage, would you please call the roll?
Randy England.
Yes.
Randy England.
Yes.
Christie Ross.
Yes.
Scott Ruble.
Yes.
Tommy Savage votes yes. Cole Taylor.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Next will be amendment GFFY 2021-7. And what this is, Justin and I discussed this today. Basically, there was prisoner, detainee, whatever you would call it, that was recommended to stay at a mental evaluation institution for a long period of time. Two different time periods, my understanding, 2 different stays, and the cost incurred was almost $24,000, and that cost is going to be incurred on the county. And the other that is on that sheet 53,100 599 is other charges. The court or someone that was being represented recommended or requested an interpreter, and I think Justin and I spoke about this, that typically the DA's office provides an interpreter, but this was an unusual situation in which the interpreter was required or a different interpreter was required. And I think Justin said that Cassie was under the impression that the state maybe would pay for this, but they did not. They said that this was our burden. Justin, if you'd like to speak to that, feel free.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was presented to me. An unusual circumstance that it seems that we will be required to pay since the state has declined to do so. I don't know all the specifics of what the difference between this interpreter and the ones that are normally used is, but Cassie told me that we would be liable for the charges for these interpreters.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I have a question before. How much money was this? 24,000 on.
Yes, 24,000 for the mental institution bill and $2,000 for the interpreter's fee, for a total of 26,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Savage. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Commissioner England. Okay, is there any more discussion? Anybody like to ask any questions? You feel free to ask Justin any questions, or me. I'll answer if I can.
I would, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This, I guess I'm wondering, was this a single incident or is there several incidents that this is combined? I mean, is this gonna happen again? You know,
Uh, Are you referring to the mental health evaluations?
yes, sir.
It was actually 2 incidents. First time that I can recall in my 8 years that we've had a stay of this magnitude that was not covered by another court. Most of our charges that come as something like this are generally related to juvenile, for the detention of juveniles, which we do have a line for, but that doesn't apply to this situation since this is an adult and it was for a mental eval as opposed to just detention. As to whether or not this will happen again, I don't know. There's really no way. It's not the first time we've sent someone for evaluation. It just happened that this time the facility decided that the person in question needed to stay, and they stayed until the facility deemed them ready to be discharged. So that's where the charges came from. It was 2 separate incidents that were not related in any way. I don't even believe they were ordered by the same court. I think that they just happened to come, the bills happened to come in to pretty close together since they were from the same facility.
I guess I just wonder, you know, you said that these persons we're talking about stayed until the facility deemed them worthy of leaving. You know, I don't know if that's 20 days, 2 weeks, or a month, but you know, I guess I'm worried about what if this had been longer than that, this bill could have been a whole lot higher. I guess I just worry about if this happens in the future, you know, how we might can handle it.
That's almost like facility writing their own check.
Yeah,
That's my thoughts, Commissioner Savage.
I will say that in this instance, it is a state facility. I don't know the specifics of the cases. I don't know any of that. So if I did, I couldn't share them. But I know that it was a state facility that they were sent to, and that facility charges $450 a day. Prior to my employment with the county, I worked at a sister organization to, well, it was Moccasin Bend. I can tell you that because we're in Moccasin Bend's catch area as far as state mental health treatment. I worked in Nashville at Nashville's catch area hospital, and they have a flat fee they charge per day that whether you're a county, an city, a individual, or whatever. And that this is the rate they charge to everybody. And that is the way they do it. It is patients, if they're deemed necessary to stay, they have to stay a minimum of, I believe, 72 hours. And then after that, they're not free to leave until the psychiatrist or the personnel on staff give them permission, sign off that they are mentally stable enough to be released. So yeah,
well,
I say that to say that this wasn't a private institution that's trying to make a profit. This was a state facility.
I guess another question I have is, you know, we approve this tonight. 6 months from now, this could pop up again. That's what you were saying a while ago, correct?
Oh yeah, if the DA or the judge, I don't know exactly who has to do the recommendation, but if they recommend that someone who's in the court system for mental evaluation and those folks don't have insurance, they're going to end up in a state facility, and we're just going to probably be left holding if they were a inmate at our jail, since we are responsible for their. Well, I mean, I don't even know that these were actually inmates at the jail. They may have just been people who were awaiting trial. If they're in our court system, then I think that the state law is that we're responsible for paying for that evaluation if they're incapable. I'd have to get Cassie or Robert or somebody to probably look into the fine points, but that's the way it's explained to me, is that we're responsible for this bill. And I don't know that there's anything we can do to avoid it in the future. But I see your worry. I do.
I do. I worry because what if we had someone in there that had to stay 6 months or something? We could be looking at a $250,000 bill.
Yeah.
Mr. Cotton, is there no insurance or anything like that to be checked into that could possibly cover that? Or is that just the burden we bear?
I don't know. That's something that if there's some form of mitigation that we can, look for, and that is something that we can pursue, I'll ask Robert and see if I can get in contact with some other folks and see if there's some mitigation avenue that we can pursue.
Mr. Cotton,
Yes.
is this something that we could table tonight, and maybe you could follow up with a little more information before we approve this?
I don't
Mr.
know.
Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, this is County Executive Haley. The law requires us to pay for this. It would be nothing different than if they were in jail and had to go to the hospital. And so the state requires us to do it. It was ordered by the judges, 2 different judges, for 2 individuals who had issues within the court system before. And so they were sent for evaluation and they were kept. Whether it happens again, we won't know. But once again, we can't discuss too much of this because HIPAA violations and everything else. But the 2 individuals were sent for evaluation and treatment. And so whether it comes up again, it may or may not. But like Mr. Cotton said, whether the DA's office orders it, and these are misdemeanors. If it was felony or criminal activities, the state normally does pay for this. But these were misdemeanors. And so it's a state requirement that we have to do if they go through the court system and the judge finds it necessary to have them evaluated. It's left up to that facility to decide how long they're going to stay and what kind of treatment they're going to receive. So it's something we got to do, and the bills have been due for some time. And so we are at this point obligated to pay for those.
Okay, thank you, Executive Haley. Any more discussion?
Well, it's about like Mr. Haley said, if it went to the hospital, it would have been a physical problem. It just went to a different kind of a hospital. And, if you stayed that long at a hospital, the bill would have been much greater. And I mean, this is still high, but it would have been so much more if it'd been a regular hospital, if it'd been a physical ailment. And, I guess it's just the price you pay. It's like Justin said, it's not a for-profit hospital, and everything. It's just stuff like that is really high, and it could happen in the next 3 days. We never know on something like that.
If I figured that correctly, that's about 53 days with both of the combined stays at $450.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any more discussion? And I agree with Commissioner England. This is a kind of back against the wall situation, and we worry what might happen in the future. But Justin, if you could talk to Robert and see if there's any avenue that we could possibly limit our liabilities with insurance or whatever the case may be, then we appreciate you looking into that. Is there any more discussion? Okay, if not, Commissioner Savage, please call the roll.
Commissioner England,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Ridley,
Yes.
Commissioner Savage votes yes. Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Savage. Okay, next, we will consider Amendment GFFY 2021-3. And this is more COVID-19 grant money, and this is directed to, and it is exclusive to the Election Commission. And this is $4,400 is dedicated to 193, which is election workers. 169 part-time personnel would be $8,000. 201, which is the Social Security for those for said workers, would be $612. And 99 other charges, there would be $9,072 placed there, and the total is $22,084. Justin, anything you'd like to add to that?
No. Well, yeah, one thing. This is not the full amount of what the election grant was for, but we only need to appropriate this amount since the state worked with Susie on getting some scanners, ballot scanners for her absentee ballots, I believe. And they went ahead and requisitioned that and took care of that prior to, they basically took that money, they paid for it and then took that portion out of her previous award. But this is 100% COVID money.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make motion, approve it.
Motion by Commissioner England. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ross. Okay, is there any discussion before we vote?
Yeah, could you give me those numbers again? For
Yes,
the
sir.
note?
Tommy, you want the breakdown?
It was, the first one was 4,400, then 8,000.
Yes, and then that is all under 58,801, and 201 would be Social Security, and that would be $612. And then 599 would be $9,072. And the total is $22,084.
All righty.
Okay, anybody else have any questions, any discussion? Okay, if not, Commissioner Savage, please call the roll.
Randy England,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage votes yes. Cole Taylor.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Savage. Next, we have GFFY 2021-4, and this is for the airport. This is also COVID-19 grant money in the amount of $30,000. Justin, has the airport indicated as to how they wish to spend this?
They have some internal repairs, remodeling that they want to do to make the facility more accessible and to kind of bring some things up to COVID standards. But they, that's the extent of it at this time. That's why it's all in other charges right now. They wanted to get it appropriated so they can get a few things going before the deadlines and stuff start hitting. If anything else comes up, I'll bring an amendment to this award before the committee.
Okay, Justin, have you received any information on the air conditioner units that they've been looking into?
We are sending that out for bid. It should run in the paper tomorrow, I believe. It should run tomorrow and Sunday, and then 10 days, I believe. I don't know the exact date of the bid opening, but we'll be opening bids in about probably 2 weeks to get those air conditioners, get that project rolling.
Okay.
It's going to be, I believe, handled presently. I think it's going to be handled through building maintenance. Greg's kind of taking that right now.
Okay. Okay, good. That should save some money. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ross. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Savage. Okay, I'll open the floor for discussion. If anybody'd like to ask any questions.
Okay, Justin, could you go over what you said that this would approximately be spent for?
Improvements inside the airport, inside the main area there at the airport.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any more discussion concerning that amendment? Okay, if not, Tommy, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Randy England,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage votes yes. Cole Taylor.
Yes.
Cole Taylor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Sorry about that.
I'll let you slide this time.
I was apologizing to Scott.
Yeah, he was trying to find it.
Oh.
Okay, next on the agenda, and I think we are right now, Justin has suggested that we probably hold off on this one. This is, and you did receive it. It is GFFY 2021-5, and this is more COVID money. And this is one of those that is COVID specific. There, it has to be spent on things that are actually related to COVID-19. And I'll let Justin discuss this a little bit, but I think we're going to do a little more research before we consider this.
This is GFFY 5, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, this is the one that we talked about Monday night. The state CARES Act countywide that was appropriated pending approval by Horn LLC, the company hired by the state to oversee that money. So that's what this is, and we're still pursuing avenues of what we can do with it. We were going to go ahead and appropriate, it was the original plan, into 599, but since it got approved Monday night, as appropriated, we will set that budget more in stone once we get a better idea of where those funds are going to fall.
Okay, and Justin, this does have to be specifically for safety measures or PPE, whatever it may be. This has to
Correct.
absolutely be spent for that, correct?
Yeah, it's pretty heavily controlled, which is why Executive Haley is working so closely with Horn on getting everything pre-approved, because it will have to be. If they reject it, then any money spent will just be left holding. It can be used for things like PPE, protective barriers, like we put in place prior to the fiscal year change. Other items that would protect either the employees or the public who comes into our buildings. And also some wages can be used on this one, maybe as reimbursements. But it does all have very strict guidelines, and there's strict guidelines and pre-approval needed for pretty much all of it.
Okay, and again, we will consider this when we have a little more understanding of what our parameters are, what we have to do. So we will consider that at a later date. The next item on the agenda, I think Justin sent this out today, is GFFY 2021-8, and that's actually the last thing that I have on my agenda. Justin, this one is pretty lengthy as to the description of what this is going to cover and what it's going to fund. If you don't mind, if you could go ahead and kind of give us an idea of what's expected on this one.
Sure thing. This one will be broken down into several different items. This is the governor's grant money that we received in August. We had not appropriated it or set it up in the budget. Since as of budget time, we didn't know exactly what it was going to be or when it would get here or what we could do with it. Since then, we have received the money, and Executive Haley has been working with the directors and elected officials to find out what their needs were for capital improvements. Since this money is what it's kind of designed for, is for doing one-time improvements, no reoccurring costs. And what we're looking at is, if you've got the budget, the amendment in front of you, is $120,000 for the airport maintenance shed, which they have been requesting for the last 4 or 5 years, I believe. We've got $110,000 in building construction. Josh over at sanitation had requested a shed to be built so that he can store some of his equipment in out of the weather and have an additional space to be able to work on his equipment when it goes down. Then there's $355,000 for building improvements. Things that are in that would be fixing the elevator at the courthouse, doing the drive-through tube system at the trustee's office, paving the parking lot there at the administrative building. It's been patched, and it just keeps getting holes in it. We have installing building-wide Wi-Fi at the administrative building and courthouse in that line, security upgrades at both of those buildings. And then, let's see, they had requested an awning to go over the main entrance there at the courthouse, since they're seeing a lot more traffic having to stand outside the building, which is not conducive to court whenever it's raining or blistering hot outside. Then there's the $35,000 for law enforcement equipment. The sheriff had requested body cams for all of his patrol officers in order to protect the county liability and his officers while they're out on answering calls. And that totals $620,000.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Ingram.
I just got this today like you did I got mine about, I don't know, 2 or 3 o'clock maybe. And I just got a question is, if we approve this, then this money is spent right where it's wrote down here. And I guess I'm concerned about, building construction and building improvements. Has this gone before the building and grounds? I'm just asking.
I believe so.
One or two things were mentioned at building and grounds, like the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi was mentioned. I don't recall any of the other that was mentioned at the building and grounds meeting, which I've only been to one of the meetings.
No, there ain't been nothing mentioned else about anything else.
I do have a question for Justin. What is the timeline on when this money has to be spent?
We don't have a firm timeline right now.
Oh. Okay. If we don't have a timeline on it, I think that this should be broken down. Some of this should go back to building and grounds, and it should. We just need to go through the proper channels and not go so fast, I think.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Ingram.
I'm kind of agreeing with Commissioner Savage. I think that building and grounds ought to be involved in this. What would be, would it be okay? And if I need to make it a form of motion, I will, but I think we ought to table this myself and get a joint meeting with the building and grounds. And let's go over this, because $620,000 is a lot of money. And I'm not saying these things don't need to be done, but I want it to be done in the right order.
And we don't have either.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said, we don't have, or we have to spend it right now.
Okay, Commissioner England, are you putting that in form of a motion?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, let me write this down.
Okay, my understanding is Commissioner England has made the motion to table this until, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, I'm trying to get this correct, until we can meet, or this can be presented to Building Grounds, and or had you prefer in your motion to have a joint meeting with Budget and Finance?
Yes, sir. And I would like to tag on to that we do this in person. They are already having, I had a committee meeting today and we had it in person, no problem. I think Building Grounds had one a few days ago. Okay. I think we get the early voting room and we can scatter out really good in there like we need to be with our social distancing, and we can wear a mask. And I think we need to do this where we're not Zooming, and we can discuss this and make sure we're going about this the right way.
Okay, Commissioner England has a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
There is a second.
Okay, second, Commissioner Savage.
Yes.
Any more discussion?
Yes, if I may ask a question, does
Yes.
all of this have to be spent at one time, like the way it's designated right there? Could you break them apart, Director Cotton, such as the airport? I mean, we know that's a flat fee and they've been asking for that one for years. Could that one be separated and then the other one's done, or does it all have to be together like that?
No, it can be broken up anyway. This is just the list that we were working on at this time. I was under the impression that the elevator had been voted on by Building Grounds at some point.
We did vote on the elevator to send it
Okay.
off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was included in here. No one had
It will
mentioned
be,
it.
it will be
Yeah,
let out for bids.
right.
I've not got those.
And the
minutes in
Wi-Fi.
front of me, but
Mr. Chairman,
sorry.
as County Executive, the Wi-Fi was discussed as well. And
Yes.
one thing that I would like to be looked at, Darlene has asked for that tube drive-through, and that's something that we really probably need to consider. If not with that governor grant money, it might possibly be with the CARES Act money. But that drive-through tube system for the trustee's office is very much needed, and she's asked for that for some time as well.
years.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Haley. That and I agree with you. I do think that is definitely one of the important things on this list. And my 2 cents is that I think I agree with Commissioner England. I think it would be really good and I know some of these things have been voted on, so they're kind of off the table. They have been voted to proceed, but I'd really like to see these things listed in order of importance before we consider it all, so we can know what the priorities are. And we don't want it to deplete our funding and have something down there at the bottom of the list that was of the utmost importance and it gets excluded because we run out of funding. So I do agree that I think we need to delve into this just a little bit deeper before we vote to appropriate. Is there any more discussion?
I agree.
And,
as well. I think Darlene needs the window, tube, whatever you want to call it, in her. But I'm like you, Mr. Chairman, that I think these things need to be listed. I would suggest when we get done voting for this, if it passes, that we table it, that we meet as soon as we can, if next week at all possible.
Okay. And Commissioner England, I will add, we discussed, which I was at one time on County Corrections Partnership, and we discussed the body cams. And one of the concerns from Sheriff Myers was the fact that data storage can be costly, support can be costly, and that was actually his reason for for not requesting these things any sooner is because of the data storage. And I know this is a one-time expense with the cameras, but this data storage, and I know the law requires it, that's going to be a reoccurring expense. And I think we need to research that before we make a decision on those as well.
I remember that discussion as well.
Yeah. Justin, can you tell me, as far as security upgrades at the two buildings, what does that entail? Is it camera upgrades, or
That would be a question better directed at Executive Haley.
Executive Haley, if you could enlighten us on that, please.
Well, as far as the county admin building, there is no security. So we have some dysfunctional cameras that don't work most of the time. There's no way to secure the front of the building like the courthouse. And so the courthouse, their cameras are old and failing. And so most new upgrades include the use of Wi-Fi, because most of them use wireless connections on most of the security. But this building, particularly when it's wide open to the public, you have 5 or 6 access doors that anybody from the public can walk into any office. Our employees are not protected. We don't have anybody at the front door monitoring anybody coming in. There's no checking for guns or weapons or anything else. And our employees deserve a little bit more protection for that, particularly when the 2 largest fee offices are located in this office building. Someone could walk in at any time and without anyone stopping them and without any way of even knowing they were in the building. The building in the past with the doors open at nighttime and people coming in and out and doors left unlocked were the same way. So we were looking at trying to do something with the keyless entry for employees and doing security cameras and security check at the front of the building. I know of very few administrative buildings anywhere in the state where you have county offices that there's virtually absolutely no security whatsoever in a building of this size with this many offices and with the fees that are collected and the hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes that are sitting in offices. So our employees have asked for security for admin, and then the courthouse, this COVID thing has brought to the attention how much and how important security plays a part in that building as well. And that security system is old and the cameras don't work very well either. So we've looked at this on several occasions, and the employees have asked for it, and for the safety and security of them, plus protecting the liability of the county as well. We've seen the importance of having security during COVID, when we've had officers at the door, when we've had public access on those 2 days that we've been open, and how that keeps the number of people out of this building wandering around or being found after hours in the bathrooms, since we don't have a security officer at this building full time. And when this building has been open in the past, it has been a security issue, and alarms go off in the middle of the night. And so, it's me coming over here at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to figure out if there's someone still left in the building or not.
Okay, so the majority of the expense that you're talking about, the administrative building, would be in concert with the Wi-Fi, would be keyless entries, hopefully cameras, and an upgraded security system, or is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Probably need a new set of doors there at the beginning. I mean, they're at the entryway as well. So we have, so that the check or whatever is inside the door. And so it's, and all the other doors would be locked so that, if you didn't have keyless entry, you couldn't access those doors. So there's basically, just like we're doing right now, and just as the courthouse is, one way in and one way out. That way you can actually monitor people. At the admin building, instead of having basically to hire a person, there could be a button system where you rang to the particular office and they could release the door to let you in. So everybody would be monitored. Everybody would be secure inside this building. And you wouldn't have, like I said, the number of people coming in and out all the time. And it would be for the benefit of the county employees for sure.
Right. And I do agree. 10 years ago, this would ridiculous to even be discussing it, but we don't live in the past. We live in here and now, and it's a different world that we live in. And I know we've got to worry about security number one, liability number two. So that's definitely something we need to focus on with this. I agree.
Hey,
And even before COVID, we, several officials in this building and directors in this building had received threats, and we've had to bring officers over here and secure the building or search the building. And of course, that's after the fact. And so it's better to be a little bit more proactive than wait to an incident, where someone is hurt or taken hostage, and it's been recommended by our safety coordinator and insurance people as well. So it would be advantageous for us to move in that direction.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
what Mr. Haley's referring to on the locks on the doors and all, we have went through that at TCAT. And let me tell you, it has been a great thing in my opinion. We have 600-pound magnet locks on the doors. We have in their glass doors, you have to ring to get in. You have to be buzzed to get in. Your videos. It took a little while to get it installed, but every student and every teacher has got an access card. And the good thing about it is it's all on computer. So when you swipe your card, it says Randy England came in at this time. It says John Doe came in, and this is going to be a good thing. And I'm just like Mr. Haley, that is very well needed there at the administrative office.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner England. Does anybody else have any discussion?
Well, the thing that concerns me, this is $620,000, and I think we need prioritize was a good word. Things like the elevator has to be fixed. Things like safety needs to be done. By the time all these things are done, 620,000 may not touch it. I mean, it's not going to cover all of it. I think we got to get the things that we have to do done first.
I agree with Commissioner Savage.
I agree, Commissioner Savage. And we definitely need to address these safety issues. I know there have been recommendations out of Building and Grounds, according to what I've heard tonight, for the elevator. And we know that has to be done. That goes without saying. But these safety issues definitely need to be addressed. That needs to be a priority for sure.
We got three categories, have tos, wants, or needs, and then wants. And those first two, I think, need to be addressed first.
I agree, Commissioner Savage. Okay, there is a motion and a second on the floor to table this until we can have a joint meeting with Budget and Finance. And I think the intent would be to categorize in order of importance and just discuss this with Building and Grounds and just try to get a better understanding of where we're going. Is there any more discussion before we vote for a table motion?
I did say and meet in person as well.
Okay. For clarity for Commissioner Savage. Any more discussion?
Right.
Okay, if not, Commissioner Savage, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Commissioner England,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Rubley,
Yes.
Commissioner Savage votes yes. Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Okay, and I will get in touch with Mr. Bolden, Chairman Bolden, and we'll try to put something together as soon as possible. Justin, that is all I have on my agenda tonight. Do you have anything else that you would like to bring up?
Yeah, I think that I sent out 2 different highway transfers. And I believe we've only voted on one of them.
Yeah. The one we voted on earlier, we actually done that earlier this month. And we still got one we got left that we did tonight.
Okay. So we've got a $5,000 transfer from plastic pipe to salt at highway and bridge maintenance that needs to be addressed. Probably the last email I forwarded today.
Yes, I've got that. I apologize. I overlooked it.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner England. Is there a second? second by Commissioner Taylor. And to reiterate what Director Cotton said, Levy is asked to remove $5,000 from salt and add it to plastic pipe. Is there any more discussion before the vote?
That was from salt to highway maintenance, did you say?
To plastic pipe, 438.
I'm sorry.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. How much did you say it was?
$5,000.
Okay, I think on mine it's showing 3,000.
That would be the previous one.
The
Where we
pre-
were moving
Okay, all right.
pipe to-
Yeah,
to rental.
that was the rental line on the first one. Commissioner Ross,
Okay.
if you don't have Justin would have sent that out in a second email
He
today.
did. That's the one I'm looking at, but it said five, but that's okay. I just
All right.
must have got him confused.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Clarify, that's $5,000 from salt to plastic pipe.
That's right, correct.
Any more discussion? If not, Commissioner Savage, please call the roll.
Commissioner England,
Yes,
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Rubley,
Yes.
Savage votes yes. Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Okay, Justin, do you have anything else that needs to be discussed?
Question.
Okay.
Since this is our first meeting, aren't we supposed to elect a vice chairman and secretary?
no,
Well, technically, we did not make a decision on the committee appointments, and that will be readdressed next
Okay.
month. We are still, we still exist as the same body until that vote is taken.
Okay, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
This is to Executive Haley. Executive Haley, buddy, if you wouldn't care, would you please try to work on a list stating what you feel like is the most important things that are needed more than wants? If possible, please, on that money that we're going to be spending, please, sir.
I've kind of already done that. It wasn't sent out that way. Justin sent out the, help put that agenda together, but my, the elected officials and, directors have, contributed all of those. Those are all those things that came from them, but I will put another list together and try to send that out. But that was based upon requests from directors and elected officials. So,
Okay.
in meeting in my cabinet, over the course of the last few months when they first announced the governor grant money, I introduced that idea of what they needed. It was based upon needs, what would make their lives a little bit easier, but in particular, once again, safety and security, just like the body cams. The sheriff asked for that just 2 weeks ago, and how important it was, particularly in the protests and the things that are going on with law enforcement now, that protecting them with body cameras would be essential as far as liability and going to court over issues. So we've put a bunch of items together. There's a few more things on the list that were not added because they are more wants than needs. So I'll work with them again and put together a priority list.
Yes, sir. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that, Mr. Haley.
Okay, Justin, do you have anything else?
I do not.
hey, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just a comment. I want to brag on Commissioner Savage. It looks like me and him is the only one that has our video on. And I'm sitting here watching him, and I would hate, me personally, to write all the notes and everything that he writes in our minutes. And when he turns around and puts them out, in my opinion, are spot on. And I just want some recognition in his favor on that.
Done.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Thank you, Mr. Savage.
Yep, we sure do appreciate it, Mr.
Thank
Savage.
God. It's getting where I can do it better. I'm writing in Savage shorthand. I don't think anybody else could understand what I'm writing. So if anything happens to me, it's over. You know, y'all just wait again.
I do appreciate
Okay, well,
you.
Yes, we all do. We all do. Okay, if there's nothing else to be brought before this committee tonight, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Savage,
I
second
ain't got
by
no motion tonight.
all in favor, say aye.
Who was it second?
Me, Cole
Commissioner
Taylor.
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 Yes. Okay, folks. Thank you very much. Good meeting.
Good night,
Good night,
Jim.
John Boy.
Thank
All right, y'all have a good
Have a
night.
good weekend.
Good night, everyone. Have a good week.